Joachim returns home while Frederik is in France. Is the reconciliation of the brothers cancelled? Despite Queen Margrethe's youngest son having lived in the US for nearly a year, Prince Joachim of Denmark has returned home, if only temporarily. His return coincides with the celebration of the Olympic Games in Paris, where King Frederik and Queen Mary are currently supporting Danish athletes. Prince Joachim, along with his wife and young children, was in Copenhagen with his wife Princess Maria and their two youngest children, Count Henrik and Princess Athena. They were honored guests at the traditional historical Grand Prix of Copenhagen, an event that takes place every year in the Danish capital and features riders from all over the world. Guests got a chance to see the cars up close and learn about the races. The royal house took advantage of Prince JW visit to share some pictures via the official social media profile, as the couple's presence on the official agenda is almost non-existent, especially since King Frederik became the new head of state. Both Prince Joachim and his wife and younger children were full of smiles throughout the day when they could be seen riding in some cars, interested in their work, and chatting animatedly with the drivers. This was the Prince and Princess' first trip to Denmark in the last few months, as they began a new phase in Washington after spending several years in France. There is a private summer residence of the royal family, Kite's Castle, where, by the way, Prince Joachim's eldest son Nicholas visited in the company of his girlfriend and a group of friends. Recent times have not been easy for Prince Joachim of Denmark, who in less than 2 years witnessed how his mother stripped her sons of the title of prince in an effort to reduce the number of members of the royal family, as well as how his older brother, who is now head of state, took a step forward. Both count after losing their titles at the hands of their grandmother, Queen Margrethe. In 2022, Henrik and Countess Athena were rechristened the Counts and Countesses of Montpellier, commencing in 2020 to 2023. These changes affected Joachim's two older children, whom he shares with his first wife Alexandra Nikolai 24 and Felix 21, and his two younger children with whom he lives in Washington, Henrik and Athena. Joachim's decision to deprive his mother of her son's titles was not easy for him, and Margaret of Denmark herself had to make a statement in which, although she did not abandon her decision, she said that she might have misjudged the personal consequences of her step. As a result, tensions in the royal family increased, especially since only Joachim was present at Frederik's proclamation without his wife, who as always said had a very difficult relationship with the new Queen Mary. The couple spoke about the Queen's decision earlier this year, admitting it was a difficult time. According to Mary, "It's more than simply a title. We're unhappy with the way it came to pass, but this is a family affair. It's problematic. It's also their name. It's their identity from the moment of their birth, and so on." Joachim continued by saying that the family has since attempted to put the dispute in the past, saying things like, "We're moving on." It seems like Queen Marg made the decision to depose Joachim's children from their royal titles in September 2022 without consulting anyone else in the family. Prince Joachim, who is Joachim's second son, voiced his outrage at the move, saying that the family is very sad and doesn't understand what happened. He added that it's never fun to see your children hurt. Joachim's ex-wife expressed in the fall that her two sons were unhappy and shocked, and a representative for the family indicated that the kids feel isolated and confused about why they are losing their identity. The Telegraph reports that Joachim's current wife, Princess Marie of Denmark, informed the press that their youngest child, Athena, was bullied at school. Meanwhile, Joachim's eldest son, Nikolai, expressed confusion about the timing of everything and how they arrived at this decision. Fortunately, the tension between the family appears to have decreased over time. Princess Marie and her children were not there for the royal Danish Christmas event at Marseille's Borge Palace in 2012, but Prince Frederik and Prince Joachim were, together with their children. Royalists and Danes are very divided about Prince Margrethe of Denmark's decision to depose her grandsons of their titles. This step highlights the difficulty of balancing the traditions and modern realities of the monarchy and raises questions about the influence and role of the monarch in modern society. On the one hand, Marg's decision can be seen as an attempt to adapt the monarchy to modern standards and limit the number of members of the royal family, which can be an important step in a modern republic. However, the lack of consultation with other family members and the lack of diplomacy in such a decision can be considered disadvantages. On the other hand, the family's reaction to this decision shows that such a step not only caused disagreements and disappointment but also affected the relationship within the family. The Queen's apology indicates her awareness of the consequences, but it does not reduce the negative emotions caused by this decision in her grandchildren and their parents in the context of modern monarchies, where the symbolic role of the royal family is combined with their public Responsibility and reputation. It is important to consider what messages such decisions send to society. In this case, the Queen decision raised questions about justice and family values, which remains relevant for discussion in the context of the future of the Danish monarchy. Thus, the issue of stripping titles to Danish princes and princesses raises important aspects of the modern monarchy, including its adaptation to changing social expectations and the preservation of family when it came to making difficult family decisions or attending King Frederik's coronation. The royal family's absence was interpreted by some as a sign of stress, and the decision ultimately led to a deep schism. His mother apologized publicly for underestimating the pain inflicted on Queen Margrethe of Denmark's decision to strip her grandchildren of their royal titles, which has caused considerable controversy in the Danish royal court and society. The family spent Christmas 2022 apart, breaking a long-standing tradition. This step highlights the difficulty of balancing the traditions and modern realities of the monarchy and raises questions about the influence and role of the Mola in modern society. On the one hand, Margrethe's decision can be seen as an attempt to adapt the monarchy to modern standards and limit the number of members of the royal family, which can be an important step in a modern republic. However, the lack of consultation with other family members, and the lack of diplomacy in such a decision, can be considered disadvantages. On the other hand, the family's reaction to this decision shows that such a step not only caused disagreements and disappointment but also affected the relationship within the family. The Queen's apology indicates her awareness of the consequences, but it does not reduce the negative emotions caused by this decision in her grandchildren and their parents in the context of modern monarchies where the symbolic role of the royal family is combined with their public responsibility and reputation. It is important to consider what messages such decisions send to society. In this case, the Queen's decision raised